Okay, students, today we are going to discuss romantic age in detail. So, the first, you will receive this lecture on my mentor, English Professor M. A. Raza. Pardon me. But today, on a Zoom, we are going to discuss with the online and live class on it. Romantic age. Introductory section or introduction to romantic age. Romanticism, also known as the Romantic period, was an artistic, literary, musical, and philosophical movement that began in Europe at the end of 18th century and culminated between 18 and 1850. Romanticism was defined by its stress on emotions, individualism, idealism of nature, distrust of science, and individualization and exaltation of the past. This movement favored the medieval over the classical traditions. It was partially a reaction to modernity and the rapidly growing urbanization caused by the Industrial Revolution. It also challenged the conventions of the age of enlightenment. It was most strongly represented in the visual arts, music, and literature, but it also influenced histo- historiography. Let me repeat it: historiography, education, chess, social sciences, and natural sciences. Romantic intellectuals influenced conservatism, liberalism, radicalism, and nationalism, and had a significant and complex impact on politics. I will fetch the question at the end. Don't raise your hands, please. So, because today we are also having trouble of net with the net speed, particularly. So, the movement stressed extreme emotion as an actual source of aesthetic experience, placing a new emphasis on feelings like fear, horror, and terror, as well as wonder, particularly when addressing romantic notions of sublime and natural beauty. It elevated folk art and historical customs to a noble status and also made spontaneity a desirable trait, as in the musical impromptu. In opposition to the Enlightenment's rationalism and classicism, Romanticism reintroduced medievalism with its authentic medieval elements of art and narrative. This was art and narrative. Let me repeat it. Yeah. Narrative. This was done as an attempt to escape population increase, early urban development, and industrialism. This movement was originally based on the German Sturm and Drang movement. The German movement stressed upon extreme emotions, exalted nature, and high individualism. It was also against the ideals of rationalism of the Enlightenment era. Also, Romanticism was centered around the German movement. It was also motivated by many other factors. The primary factor being that many romantics were influenced by the French Revolution, since many early romantics were cultural revolutionaries and sympathizer. Romanticism placed great importance on the achievement of heroic individualists and artists, claiming that their example would improve society. Romanticism also emphasized that human imagination allowed artists to break free from traditional concepts of form in the portrayal of the movement's ideas. There was a significant reliance on the historical and the natural elements. Realism was produced Realism was not produced, proposed. Realism was proposed as the polar opposite of Romanticism in the second part of the 19th century. During this time, the decline of Romanticism was linked to several factors, including social and political changes. Now we are going to discuss that different writers of Romantic literature as a brief. Joseph Warton, headmaster at Winchester College, and his brother Thomas Warden, professor of poetry at Oxford University, were among the forerunners of Romanticism in English poetry. In the mid 18th century, a poet's key qualities, according to Joseph, are invention and imagination. With the international success of his Ocean Cycle of Poems, published in 1762, works of Scottish poet James Macpherson, and significant impact on the early development of Romanticism. Inspiring by Goethe and the young Walter Scott, Thomas Chatterton is often regarded. It must be Thomas Chatterton is often regarded as England's earliest romantic poet. Yeah, I got the same. Thank you very much. Both Chatterton and Macpherson's work contained aspect of deception as what they purported to be previously discovered or gathered. Literature was in fact entirely their work. With a relish in terror and threat and exotic attractive locales, the Gothic fiction, which began with Horace Walpole, The Castle of Otranto, 1764, was an important predecessor of one strain of Romanticism, mirrored in Walpole's case by his role in the early resurgence of Gothic architecture. Lawrence Saturn, 1759 to 67, presented a whimsical version of the anti-rational sentimental fiction to the English literary public with the Tristram Shandy. Isabella de Mora, a 16th century poet, is regarded by some scholars as a predecessor of Romantic literature. In contrast to the patriarchist tendency of the time, which was centered on the philosophy of love. Her songs were about loneliness and solitude, which depicted the horrible circumstances of her existence and are regarded as an extraordinary prefigurement of Romanticism. The evocation or criticism of the past, the worship of sensibility, with its emphasizes underline this particular word sensibility, sensuality, with its emphasis on women and children, the isolation of the artist or narrator, and love for nature were all common themes in Romanticism literature. Several Romantic writers, including Edgar Allan Poe, E.A. Poe, and Nathaniel Hawthorne, based their works on the supernatural, occult and human psychology. Style was often dismissed by Romanticism as as undeserving of serious consideration, a bias that persists today. Romantics is a representative term for describes those writers who became famous in the late 19th and early 20th century. There was no self-styled romantic movement at the time, and the great writers of the period did not refer to themselves as romantics. A strong difference between the organic plastic qualities of romantic and the mechanical character of classicism was not established until August Wilhelm von Scheele's Vienna lectures of September 1808. Nonetheless, many of the era's leading writers believed that something new was unfolded in the world's affair. A new heaven has begun, wrote William Blake in 1793, was followed by P.B.S. Shelley or Percy Bysshe Shelley. The words grand again begins afresh. A generation later, John Keats said about Leigh Hunt and William Wordsworth, these will give the world another heart and other pulses. New ideas arose, in particular, the long cherished English concept of liberty was being expanded to all aspects of human endeavor. As that concept spread over Europe, it was easy to imagine that the period of dictators was drawing a close to a close. The new role of individual thought and personal experience is the most remarkable element of the poetry of the time. Now we are going to the next important point, which is related to this particular segment, and the point is that poetry in romantic literature. The main trend in 18th century poetics was to glorify the general. The poet was considered a spokesperson of society who preached to a cultivated and homogeneous audience with the conveyance of truth as his goal. However, the romantic found poetry's basis to be in the personal and unique experiences of an individual. To generalize is to be an idiot. Black writes in a marginal note on Sir Joshua Reynolds' discourses, the only distinction of merit is to particularize. The Romantics consider the poet to be a unique individual, different from other in his perceptions and intellect. Poetry was thought to transmit its truth and sincerity was the standard by which it was judged. In some ways, the emphasis on feeling perhaps best exemplified in Robert Burns' poems was continuation of the previous cult of sensuality, and Alexander Pope commended his father for knowing no language except the language of the heart. However, sentiments had begun to receive a special attention, and they can be found in most of romantic poetry. In 1833, John Stuart Mill defined poetry as feeling itself, employing thought only as the medium of its utterance. William Wordsworth called poetry the spontaneous overflow of powerful feeling, and Stuart Mill defined poetry as feeling itself, employing thought only as the medium of its utterance. As a result, the best poetry was that which portrayed the greatest intensity of feeling, and the lyrics was given a new level of importance. And other distinguishing feature of romantic writing was its shift away from the neoclassical era's mimetic or imitative norms to a fresh emphasis on imagination. Imagination, according to the Samuel Taylor Coleridge or S.T. Coleridge, is the greatest poetic quality quasi divines creative energy that elevates the poet to good like status. Invention, imagination, and judgment were the components of poetry, according to Samuel Johnson. While Black said, one power alone producer, a poet, imagination, the divine vision. As a result, poets of the time placed a strong focus on the unconscious mind, dreams, and reveries the supernatural and the infantile or primeval or primeval vision of the world also gained special attention. The latter was valued for its clarity and intensity, which had not been constrained by civilized reason. The romantic attitude towards form is another indicator of the reduced emphasis on judgment. If poetry is to be spontaneous, sincere, and intense, it should be fashioned according to the rules of creative imaginations. You feel deeply, trust those sensations, and your poem will acquire its shape and proportions as a tree does form the vital elements that actuates it. William Wordsworth instructed a young poet, in other words, poetry is free and spontaneous. Its biological conception contrasts with the classical poetry of genres, each with its own grammatical rules and regulation. This gives the impression that poetic sublimity could only be achieved in brief passages. Demands for new techniques of writing went hand in hand with the new understanding of poetry, and thus insistence on a new subject matter. Wordsworth and his followers, particularly Keats, felt the late 18th century poetic dictions was old and stiff or gaudy and inane and completely inappropriate to the expressions of their feelings. It couldn't possibly be the language of feelings for them. Therefore, Wordsworth set out to reintroduce poetry to the realm of everyday speech. Wordsworth's diction, on the other hand, frequently contradicts his idea. Nonetheless, the time was ripe for a change when he wrote the prologue to Lyrical Ballads in 1800. The agile dictions of early 18th century poetry had fossilized into a purely conventional language. Summary: Romanticism 1800 to 1850 was, I'm gonna give you the summarize or briefed at the end right now, was an intellectual movement that influenced all fields of study, resulting as please continue on this lecture, because it should not be a part, it is main part and parcel, because after understanding the previous lectures or 3 points, now you can summarize it, or vice versely, you can summarize it in a particular way. So it is we should do it with the same. Anyhow, I knew that the lecture time is okay. Thank you. uh, byproduct of the industrial revolution and the enlightenment era's logic and rationality, romanticism sought for the pure and sublime. The romantic movement focused on the individual and his place in nature. It emphasized emotion, imagination, and beauty. It also favored the medieval in place of the classical, moving from the general to the specific. Romanticism placed value in subjectivity and found healing in nature. And with Wordsworth effort, poetry was made enjoyable for everyone, being written in the common tongue. So these are the most important points. So today we discuss romantic age in particularly, and we also relate it with the new age, with the we also interlink it to the classicism. So now we are coming to the question answer session, and let me just close, give me the ending remarks or end credits for the channel viewers. So then I'll open your marks and we will open your mics and we will ready for the question answer session. So dear watcher, dear subscriber, you have watched this lecture on mentor English Professor M. Raza. We have a channel for the services of Urdu by the name of Murshid Urdu Professor M. Raza, and for the services of classical Islamic sciences for logic, history, philosophy, fiqh and usul al-fiqh by the name of Jamid Darulum Shaykhul Islam. And hope you will subscribe all and hit the bell icon to all. So let me go now and say with me, do something more for humanity, do something more for knowledge and practices. Have a good day. Now I'm going to on your mics and raise your hand in a orderal or in a ordering list or in a ordering situation. Okay. So